So welcome back to session 2 of this series of 5 tutorials. The session title, The Use of Common Drawing Tools, is a summary. In fact, we're going to be looking at a few more things than just the drawing tools in this session. I'm going to start off by talking through the setup of the toolbars and ribbons. I'm going to follow on from that with use of mouse controls. I'll talk briefly about the difference between a model and the paper or layer space. Then we'll have a look at those drawing tools, the most commonly used ones. Following on from that, some other elements of the ribbon. We're going to be looking at the drawing, we're going to look at the annotation and some modified commands. We'll also be looking briefly at object snapping and methods of selecting elements of your drawing using the mouse and the cursor. So in order to get to the point where we have our ribbons and toolbars set up, as I have them here, I'll just quickly run you through that. So I'm going to just delete or close the ones I've got open here, and I shall reopen them so that we can all be working with the same setup. Okay, so just to do that in reverse, in order to get the menu bar showing, and let's drop down at the top, hit menu bar, that reopens that one, and I find it handy to have an external references and a properties shortcut on the left here. So to get the properties bar up, all we're going to do is type a command of properties, select properties, and that bar will ping in. Now you don't have to go into the command bar to write commands. You can just type, and that will do exactly the same thing. Like I said, there are many ways of doing the same thing in AutoCAD. Let's get the external references bar up, which won't be important at this stage, but we will be using later on. We're going to do the same thing. Type in references, hit external references, and that bar's come in. So we now have set up. So if you just move your cursor out of the way of that, it automatically pings it back in. So a quick note before we start doing the drawing tools, we're always going to draw in the model space. You also have the layout or paper space. This is where you'll create your printable drawing. If you imagine that this is called a viewport. This is essentially your piece of paper here, and this viewport is a window, if you will, which will show the elements that you have entered in onto your model space. So ensure you're on the model space before we start drawing. I'm going to be demonstrating how to use the mouse when drawing. You can also, as we saw, you can type commands and you can draw using the keyboard, but I'm going to show you how to use the mouse. Your mouse obviously has probably at least 3 functions on it, in as much as a left button, a right button, and we would hope a wheel as well. Everything I'm going to be doing is with the left click of the mouse, unless I say otherwise, and we'll just run through at some point during this tutorial. We'll demonstrate what the other bits do. So in order to start drawing, we're going to be looking at the drawing tab in the home page. So we're on home and we're in the drawing, the selection of drawing commands. We're going to start with a line. If you hover over any of the drawing commands, AutoCAD will just give you a summary of what that command does. So we have a line, we have a polyline. Quite handy when you're starting out to remind you what these things do and how to use them. We'll start off with a line. As you can see, you can create straight lines in segments. Now, I'm using left click, obviously. So I've selected line. It's asking you to specify your first point. You click on your first point, just a freehand line, and you click on your second point, and third, fourth, fifth, and so on. You hit enter when you've completed your line. Now with the line command, you'll notice that So if I hover over all of the elements of this line, they are individually being highlighted. So you've created essentially not one line there, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. If I use the polyline to draw a similar shape, enter, and you'll notice if I hover over that, it selects it as a single entity. I tend to use polyline more than line for this very reason. Now, just a quick note on selecting items. If you use your left click again, you can click on an element and select it. I'm going to press escape to unselect those. Or you can use either the green selection box. So if you use your left click and pull left, that creates a green selection box. That will select anything that that box touches. You can also select using the blue selection box. So left click and pull right. Now that will select everything that is fully enclosed in that box. So the difference between the green and the blue box, the green box will select anything the box touches, and the blue box will select anything that's fully enclosed within the box. It's not a bad time just to demonstrate what the wheel does. If you draw back on the wheel, then that zooms out from your drawing. If you roll forward on your wheel, that can zoom in on your drawing. You can also use the wheel to move your drawing around in your view space. If you use it as a button, the hand pops up and that shows you've grabbed the screen. And just by moving the mouse around now, I can move my view around to enable me to draw or view different parts of the drawing or draw in different areas. You may have noticed that when I select a start point, I have a blue highlighted numbers there. That allows you to enter the distance or the length of a line that you want to draw. If I want to draw a line to be 100 long and I hit tab, that'll give me the angle from my start point. So if I keep that at 90, it's going to automatically draw a 100 unit long line at 90 degrees to my start point. I'm going to select all of that and just delete it quickly. So that's drawing lines. We'll move on to drawing circles. The circle command is one we'll use a lot in our industry. Obviously we're drawing root protection areas as a radius, as a circle with a radius that we know. Or we have the center and diameter option, which is handy for drawing the trunks as a circle. We measure the trunks at a diameter, so it makes sense to draw them at a diameter. We'll look at center radius first for root protection areas. You choose your center point and then type in, you can make a circle bigger or smaller by moving your mouse, but obviously we want to be accurate here. So we're going to use a 6 meter radius for this circle. And that's our circle at a 6 meter radius. Now, in order to draw the trunk for that 6 meter radius, we're going to use the center diameter function. Again, we're going to be clicking the center point. You can see the dotted lines are at the edges of that circle, showing that we're going to be entering a diameter. Again, obviously you can make it larger or smaller by moving your mouse in and out, but that's not very accurate, so we're going to enter a value. Must remember we're drawing in meters, so if we've measured this stem diameter at 500 millimeters, we need to convert that to meters for the drawing, which is obviously 0.5 meters. And that's our circle for our stem diameter. One of the drawing tools we commonly use is the spline tool. It's not in the summary box at the top. We have to do the drop down and there are two spline tools. We're going to be using the spline fit tool. Obviously we have to enter our first point, but the spline fit tool draws a curved line through each of the points that you've plotted. Now I want to get that shape to close, so I'm going to right click and hit close, and that has created my spline line. Very useful for drawing groups on your plans and also for canopies that aren't circular. That's most of the tools you're going to use, drawing tools you're going to use on a day-to-day basis. There are others you will use. You will use an arc. You might well want to use a rectangle. I'll quickly run through the rectangle now. Drawing a rectangle, you can either start in your, obviously you have to specify your first corner point. If you drag your mouse around, you can specify your second point and it draws you a rectangle. As with all the other commands, however, I'll just get rid of those. You are able to do an accurate rectangle by specifying your first point, entering a value for the x-axis. Let's go with 10. Use the tab button to get to the y-axis, and we'll go with 20. That will draw you a 10 by 20 rectangle. Another very handy drawing command when you're constructing your drawings is the construction line. This will allow you to draw an infinitely long line through 2 points, first point and second point, enter. And that line continues infinitely on in both directions. You draw several of these to draw out grids or what have you, that can help you with construction of your drawings. It's not something you will use every day, but it's handy to know that it exists. So another command tool you're going to be using all the time is the addition of text to your drawings. You can use multi-line or single-line text. I tend to just stick with multi-line. So you select the A icon, your first corner of your box, and drag out a box and select and click for your second point. We're going to stick with annotative and standard. This is the height of your text. So it's 0.2 meters. Just for the sake of it, we'll leave it at 0.2. We can select our font here. And we've also got some of these standard options you might be familiar with from Word: underline, bold, italicized, etc. If you want to do some typing in here, section 2, and once you've entered your text, just click outside the box, and again, that is there. Just as an aside, we entered this properties box earlier. If I click on one of the elements of our drawing, in this case it is some text, just hover over properties. That tells me the properties of that element which we've selected. We can see what, in this case, what it says is session 2. It's still a standard style, and as we mentioned just now, it's 0.2 meters in height. There's a bunch of other information there which you'll become familiar with as you start playing with the program. Moving on to the modify group of commands, you'll use a lot of these. So we use move, copy, explode, offsets, trims, and extends, and we'll use a lot of those. I'll quickly run through those. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle of 100 by, so tab to 50. I'm going to zoom out using my mouse wheel to scroll back towards me. My grab tool, center that. To use the move command, select the element you want to move, hit move. You move with a base point. So wherever you click your base point from, you move it from that point and put it down elsewhere. You can specify what that base point is, which becomes important later on, but we won't run through that now. If you want to make a copy, so again, select it, hit copy, again with the base point, and then you can make copies and hit enter when you've finished. The explode command breaks down the elements of your thing into separate elements. With the box, obviously, we have 4 lines creating a single box. If we use the explode tool, you can see if I now hover over, I can select those individually because it's broken those 4 lines into 4 separate lines. Okay, just a quick point on the offset, which is really handy. I'm going to draw a quick splined line. As I said earlier, if you want to draw around the canopy spreads a group of trees, close, then you may have a shape not dissimilar to that. You know, for example, that the root protection area of the trees is 6 meters radius, and you know the canopy spreads is 7 meter radius, and you know that the RPA is 1 meter inside the canopy spreads. So we can do an offset of 1 meter, enter, and we select the item we want to offset, and the side of the line we want to offset to. So if I hover inside, it will draw that line inside. Notice if I go outside, it draws it outside. So it's a handy tool, and one you'll use often. Press escape to come out of the command and delete. And the final modified commands we'll look at today are the trim and extend commands. And we're going to use the extend first. It's a way of being able to, as you might guess, extend one line till it intersects with another. I highlight the 2 elements I want to work with, hit extend, and then if I hover over the end of that line, you can see it's already intersecting. I just want to select the end of the line, and then that has extended the line to intersect. If I want to then trim this section, for example, I select both of those items, select trim, and click on that bit there. That has created a new polyline for us. It's a new line for us, rather. If we want to turn it into a polyline and join those together, we can select all of the elements again, and we can go into modify and join those objects. So currently they are separate. Look, I select them, modify, join, it becomes a single line. The last thing I want to show you at this stage is some of these tools down here that help you draw more accurately. I've had them all turned off up till now. So to this point we've just been drawing freehand, and with the best will in the world, if you draw 2 lines, you try and get them as close as possible to join up. For example, if I zoom in on there's going to be a gap. Now, there's a way we can remedy that and make our drawings more accurate using this bottom palette down here. It just restricts or guides the cursor to specific places. We're going to use the object snapping tools. So if we turn the object snappers on and we set up the elements we're going to use, we're going to select endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center, perpendicular, and intersection, and tangent. I generally have all of these turned on, but for the sake of keeping this to as little, minimizing complexity, we'll just utilize those. So now if I draw a line, you can see if I want to get those to join up, if I draw another line from here, you'll see certain symbols pop up on that line. As I approach the end of this line, you'll notice a square, a green square pops up. That tells me I'm going to snap to the end of a line. So I can click, and those 2 are now joined up. Where else did we have in our selection here? Midpoint. So the midpoint shows as a triangle. So if I want to join a line to the center of another feature, Wait for the triangle to pop up. Now, as soon as the triangle's popped up, we can select and it will snap to that point which has been highlighted. You may have just seen a right angle pop up then. We'll do that. So if we want to draw a line at right angles to another line, we're going to join a line at right angles. That's the end point. Can't put a right angle symbol there in green. So they are now perpendicular to each other. If I draw a quick circle. If I want to, for example, draw a line from this corner here, I'm going to snap to the end points. If I want to draw a tangent onto this, then we'll wait for the tangent sign to pop up, and we've drawn a tangent. Again, if we want to draw to the center of that circle, we can draw perpendicular there. But if I approach the green circle, tells me the center of that element. We can do a geometric center as well from a. I'll just draw a polygon there with it joined up. If I hover, if I draw another line here, start point here. If I hover over here, that black star is telling me the geometric center of that shape. Intersections are a very useful tool. So if I now want to draw a line or even a circle or whatever element it is from the intersection of two lines, as I approach the intersection we'll get a green cross. We can snap to that green cross and that is where those intersections happen. Again, we can go for another intersection. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. That's possibly the most useful of those commands. Just make sure I haven't missed any of the ones we selected. And we have then, that's it, we've used all of those. Okay, so also on this bottom tool here, we've got a couple of these cursor restrictions. This restricts the way your cursor will be able to move. We're going to use the right angled one to start with, as it's the easiest one to deal with. This has to draw your polyline. So I'm going to draw my start point. And you'll notice that if I move diagonally up, it's only going out to the right. So if I go a little bit further up, it's only going directly up. So it's only going to draw a line at 90 degrees intervals to my start point. Quite handy for drawing crown spreads. So I want to draw a crown spread with north 2 meters. Enter. Zoom in. Draw my second point. Snapping onto that, the end of that bottom line. Come out. This is 3 meters to the east. Hit enter. Enter again to draw another line. Snap onto the end of that line again. Now my south spread might be 6 meters. Hit enter. Enter to complete the line. And hit enter. So snap onto the start line again. Hit in the vague direction I want to go out on. And let's say that this is a 4 meter crown spread. I hit enter. That creates the line. Hit enter again and it completes the line. Now we can use the spline line, which we found earlier, to draw our canopy spread at the end of these points. So clicking onto one, the second, end of the second, snapping onto the end of the third, snapping onto the end of the fourth, and closing the shape. Then we have that canopy spread at the 4 cardinal points. So to get you thinking about the techniques we've just seen briefly demonstrated there, I'm going to put a quick exercise together for you using all of those commands that we've just used, or certainly most of them. Try and recreate that, obviously the black lines, the red lines are the dimensions. It may not be that clear on the video, so I will see if I can add something in the description below to allow you to download a paper copy of that. Be interested to see in the comments below how you get on with that. Or if you come across any queries, put them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Well done, you've just completed session 2 of this 5-session series. Please do like and subscribe, and hit the little bell if you want to be notified when the next session is posted. I look forward to seeing you for session 3, layer creation and management.